Hey everybody, this is Jordan McConnell with the Crohn's Veteran Podcast. Welcome. I am joined by my amazing co-host Renika Wood. How you doing?
Great, great. Hope you're doing well as well.
Thank you, thank you. CJ Cabrera, our other amazing co-host, is off tonight. Wish him well. We are grateful to have Ashleigh Gibson with us. Ashleigh is the Miss Oklahoma International 2020. She's a mom. She's a C. diff survivor. She's doing all kinds of fun things. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's an all right day.
Well, we're grateful to have you here. You know, you've I've been following you for a while. I know your content's amazing. You know, off top, I encourage everybody to follow you. You know, and so, support you what you're doing. But I'm curious just for people that don't know you, aren't familiar with the modeling circuit. Who's Ashleigh Gibson?
So I would say I'm a normal person, and it's funny because I scheduled this, and I was talking earlier, I had a dental surgery with my youngest daughter this morning that ended up going way longer than we thought it would. So I was rolling in my t-shirt and no tan, no lashes, but this is me. This is Ashleigh Gibson, and I'm okay with that. I've gotten to the point where it's as a Crohn's patient, as a Crohn's, I guess, person surviving every day. Some days you get the big lashes, full makeup, big hair me, and some days you get this, and this is what it is, and that's okay with me. So full time, I work for a nonprofit here. It's a local nonprofit in Oklahoma City. It's actually attached to the tech school. Cool. And I provide student assistance for students that are doing career training.
Okay.
Anybody that needs anything past financial aid. So we have a large in poverty population here in Oklahoma City. And that is kind of my passion. I did career tech or vo-tech before I went to college, and that's how I paid my way through college. So that's my little passion project on the side, which also happens to be a full-time job and pays the bills. But so 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with Crohn's. My journey started long before that, as everybody else's did. And I started, so one of the ways that I paid the bills was I had a certification in electronics. And when I was in college, I did concert production. And because I was the only female that worked for the concert production company that I worked for, I was also the only one that had a normal color of hair and no tattoos. And so they would send me to pageants and weddings. So I did about a decade of pageant production before I had my youngest daughter. I gave birth to her 3 weeks after she was born. I had an emergency appendectomy. 2 months after that, I went into the hospital with C. diff. That was a long haul. I was hospitalized for about 12 days with that. They finally figured out what was going on. I had the vancomycin, all the drugs. That was a harsh one. The elimination diets, everything, but I ended up beating that. And so coming out of that, one of my friends said to me, you should talk about this in pageants. And of course, I'd only been behind the scenes previously. And I was like, that's not me. I can't do that. So she finally convinced me. She registered me herself and said, well, your name is on the list. So if you don't show up, they're going to be disappointed. And I was like, okay, let's do this. Yeah, it's all right.
Wow.
Yeah, I went in, it was 3 months after, no, it was, February, March. It was 2 months after I was from C. diff. I did my first pageant as a Mrs. Contestant. I did okay, but I ran on the platform of mentoring younger people. And so I thought to myself, I can do better than this. I can talk about mentoring, the adversity I've been through. And so I did the next year and I did okay. I placed top 10 in that pageant. And coming out of that, I thought, this really isn't for me. I would rather be behind the scenes of it. So in 2018, the end of 2018, 2019, my daughter, who was 4 at the time, started to have trouble and ended up getting diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder that's extremely rare, I guess, autoimmune disorder, PANS. Most people know the subset of PANS, which is pandas, caused by strep. Hers was caused by Epstein-Barr virus. And so, yeah, so when she was diagnosed with that, I started talking more about autoimmune disorders. People were like, wow, how crazy that your daughter would be diagnosed with this. And I'm like, it's actually not, because I have Crohn's disease. People were like, what? You have what? And so I had to explain, things I had been hiding for multiple years. I would make excuses about what I would eat. I make excuses about why I'm so skinny, excuses about why my weight's fluctuating, why I have to visit the bathroom so much, those kind of things. And it would just always kind of play it off. I'd be like, well, I eat really healthy, or me, the model type, I just don't eat, ha ha ha. And so when that started to come to light and I started being more open about having Crohn's, having an autoimmune disorder, I said something to a fellow pageant sister, and she actually I said, more people need to know about this. Why isn't this being talked about? I think I'm gonna do another pageant. I'm gonna run this as my pageant platform. And she responded with, no, that's a crude platform. The judges will be offended. You don't need to be talking about bathroom problems with people. So that I don't know if you can tell on the video, but I have a little bit of red hair in my gene pool, and that kind of lit a fire under me. And I was like, no, I'm doing this.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I spent about 10 months really just pouring myself into it and meeting people. I actually have a former colleague that in my early years as a professional, I ran a Department of Justice-based program out of Washington, D.C. And I have a former colleague from Illinois whose daughter has a bowel disorder that mirrors Crohn's or colitis. And so I started talking to her, and her daughter now I believe is 14, but she was about 12 at the time when I really started this. And her daughter was like, if you don't talk about it, nobody's going to. And there's other people that are my age that need to know that grownups have this too, and it's not embarrassing. And so that's what really kind of pushed me over the edge for it. So I ran for Mrs. Oklahoma International, and I already had it set in my mind that if I didn't win that I was going again, that I was going to get to Mrs. International. I immediately won Mrs. Oklahoma International. I went to Mrs. International last year. I made second runner-up. I got the photogenic award, and my Get Gutsy campaign was picked up by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. We did the tour across America, the Get Gutsy tour across America. I got to be a spokesperson for them. I got to speak on podcasts and crazy things. I had to walk in fashion shows for a couple designers out of New York that were awesome, and that I would talk about just being different, having an invisible illness and how it's changed my life and changed my functioning. And so I got to educate on that. And that's kind of been my journey with Crohn's, because I took it upon myself to be like, man, why aren't people talking about this? And when I started talking about it, I started hashtagging on Instagram, I started meeting more people and more people, both of you and Bad Gut Tim. That was he was one of my first Crohn's and colitis friends on Instagram. And he was like, you got to keep going. Every time I post, I'd be like, I don't know if this is too yucky to post. And he'd be like, you got to keep going. Just keep doing it. People are paying attention to you.
You just never know. Yeah, you just never know whose life you're, you really make an impact in this one person's life by doing all that stuff. And, it's so awesome to hear the reasoning why you do everything. And that's, the kind of the reasoning why Crohn's Veteran exists. It's kind of, that I made it was to be the change you want to see in the world. I didn't see folks that looked like Renika and I, or at least at first, that were advocating for IBD. Now, of course, I know about all that. but, but at the time, I was like, you know, one of these, you know, why, to me, that it shouldn't be hard to find. That was the problem.
Mhm.
And so, you know, so I kind of endeavored to, you know, make, you know, somebody advocating for Crohn's, you know, easy to find.
Right. And that's, yeah. Is that your background too?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Renika, is that your background too?
Yes, my background, kind of, sort of, but yeah, diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 2010. I always say I was misdiagnosed, but now I think that I probably did have UC and transferred to Crohn's, because later on I was like, how do I go from UC to Crohn's? Wasn't educated on the fact that it can happen that way. But
Right.
yeah, I have two pages. I have my Renika page, who's my name Renika, on my other whatever. But I was like, and I post about Crohn's every now and again, and it's like nobody will never pick it up. You know, I was like, well, I guess I'm getting it by myself out here. One of my friends was like, you should get you a page, a Crohn's page. I was like, I'm not doing no Crohn's page. Well, no, I ain't doing that. He said, Crohn's is sexy. I was like, that's sexy. Okay, then, like grown but Crohn's. So I did the page, and like you said before, I started hashtagging Crohn's, hashtagging IBD, hashtagging whatever I could. And I had met CJ. He was like, I'm a young guy, you know, I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis a year ago. We connected. And he was like, you know, I do a podcast, and this is how I met Jordan, you know. And before that, I had no support system that I could identify with that had the challenges I had. I may meet one or two every now and again, but nothing like I have now that's from Crohn's Veteran and from my personal page. And I'm also doing some other outside work. So that's definitely how my journey also went. So I'm glad to be able to connect with these hashtags and whatnot, you know. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it with social media, because I have my family as a support system. I have people now in the pageant world understand. And actually, so I took over when I gave up my crown. I took over as the director of Oklahoma International Pageants because I wanted to provide the same experience for someone else that I had. For me, it was life-changing to be able to connect with people and have people all over the world hear my platform and understand it and not be embarrassed to speak out. So I took over as director, and then I got my queen, and come to find out, Mrs. New Jersey International this year has Crohn's also. Wow. And so she's running an IBD platform. And as soon as she got crowned, she added me on Facebook, and I was like, no way. And so we got to bond over that, but it was really cool because it's so rare. I mean, when I was coming into pageants, you didn't see anyone with IBD running that as their platform because it really is, it was so taboo. Nobody wanted to talk about. I would joke with some of the younger girls I mentor. I would always joke about hashtag poop problems, or I would.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's like gross, and I would be like, oh, I'm the poop princess, you know, and just kind of joke about it and laugh it off. But once you get past that kind of level of being embarrassed about it, it's so nice to be able to talk about it and have people connect and relate to you.
It is.
I definitely agree.
Definitely. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jordan.
I guess, you know, my question is, what, you know, on that tour across America, that you're on, you know, what were some of the highlights, or, you know, the kind of the coolest, any kind of, you know, memories that stand out from, from that experience?
That was, so it was, of course, during coronavirus. Mm-hmm. That was a really cool experience because I got to see, when I picked Get Gutsy as my platform, I just thought, my favorite color is purple, Crohn's and colitis is purple, Mrs. International is purple. I'm just going to tie these all together. And when they contacted me, they were like, we're going to do this tour across America. And initially, it was all these different rallies and all these different 5Ks and marathon things across America. And we were going to do the tour across America. And I was like, this is perfect. So eventually it went all virtual. But the coolest part, I think, was just being able to see my name on something that I helped create and that I stood for, and people were excited about it. And that was just so cool. I mean, that was when my stuff came in. I still have my stuff in the office displayed, but when the stuff came in and it said, like, I had the race number and the medal and everything, and it said "Get Gutsy" across America, I was like, man, this is cool. And I got to go on the news and talk about how I was the national spokesperson for that. And
wow, I mean that's amazing. I mean, I saw my stuff. I think CJ still has his stuff, and it's just that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I still run, even though I'm not doing pageants, I still run Get Gutsy, just kind of low key. One of the biggest things for me was when I got diagnosed in the state of Oklahoma, and when my daughter got diagnosed, we still had step therapy. So I got a full round of years of misdiagnosis. And then when I was finally diagnosed, I had to deal with step therapy. And they're like, we'll try this medication. And I'm like, okay, is it going to work? And they're like, no, try it. I'm like, great. So yeah, that was the biggest thing that I was fighting against, because I had to fight it. And then my daughter had to fight it. And I was like, this is crap.
Definitely.
We're all friends here.
Yeah. we're all buddy, our pals. Ashleigh, just hearing your story and you being a part of all these beautiful platforms, there are so many young ladies and men that look up to you, probably by you speaking and sharing, that you have given so much motivation to, you probably have no idea about. I know for me, I met, her name is Jarlene. She is an ostomy, where she have an ostomy and she have a urostomy. I think I said it correctly. And she's a model. She stays, I think, in Maryland or DC, 1 and 2. And when I met her I saw her on a regular old, what was it, Essence? Some magazine. I was like, oh, she is so dope. Who is she? So I messaged her on Instagram. I said, you are such an inspiration. I don't know you personally, but you really are inspiring me, because she was modeling, doing her thing out here in the world. And here I go, a little old girl from North Carolina, had no idea she even knew about me. I was like, hey, this is the girl that was inboxing you a year ago, and now we're friends on Instagram. So that's very encouraging, because a lot of us feel like we can't do anything but be sick, stay sick, and not know how to get well. But knowing life is beautiful in different areas when you have the confidence to do more things than just to be sick or feel sick all the time. So kudos to you for doing everything you're doing. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And that goes to saying, like, I've struggled with that a lot on Instagram and on social media about posting, the good stuff, the high points. And so I post up and down about it. Sometimes I'll make clips about being bloated or being, sick or whatever, or eating the wrong thing. But I think, so like, I disappeared for a while. I just posted today for the first time in like 9 days. But I've been going through a lot of stuff with myself and my daughter, my family, my, personal things. My grandma passed away a couple of weeks ago. So we've been dealing with that. And just that stress, it's hard to explain to people that don't see you past Instagram. It's hard to explain how the stress hits different, I think, when you have a chronic illness. And I try to use the spoon theory to explain to people. That seems to be the most common, but I just try to be upfront about that my body's working overtime. And so when I have this added stress in my life, it takes me down more than it would another person. And so I'm like, yeah, my husband and I got really excited about running a Like to Know It page and running fashion and stuff, because I'm tall, I'm 5'10". And I like casual fashion. I like high fashion too, but I like casual fashion. I'm a thrift shopper. I hit Goodwill all the time. I love it. All my kids dress in Goodwill. Yeah.
I mean, my mom should hang out then. So she's always dragging me to Goodwill every time I hang out with her.
Yeah, but the fashion part of it, I was like, I want people to know, what tall girls can wear that are affordable, that's Walmart, that's Goodwill, that's thrifting, all these kind of things. These are tall girl styled.
Mm-hmm.
And so I post on that and I get a lot of like to know it traffic and Instagram traffic from that. But then I start to feel bad when I don't post. And I feel like I have to apologize for it. And yeah, so my mom was actually saying today, I was like, oh, I haven't posted on Instagram in a few days. She was like, what are you apologizing for? You have Crohn's, your daughter has an autoimmune disorder, you work full time, you're a wife full time. Why are you apologizing to these Instagram people for not keeping this up? She was like, just be genuine with them. That's what they're going to appreciate. And so the more I started to be genuine with people on Instagram, and actually I became friends with another lady here in Oklahoma City that's a kind of a celebrity in her own right. But she and I were talking about it too. And I was like, one day when I realized that I guess I should be real, more real than fake on Instagram, that's when everything started to take off. And so I started to be like, yes, you can be a queen. Yes, you can model. Yes, you can wear these fashions. And you can also have Crohn's. You can also show up to a podcast in no makeup and no lashes because it's real. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's not something to look down on. That's my husband.
Well, and I can say, I didn't exactly expect you to, to be done up like one of your posts or anything just to come on the show either. So I'm just happy you're here.
Yeah, thanks.
Definitely. Actually, you mentioned a good point about, just having the platform that you have, that we all have on different platforms we have individually outside of Crohn's veteran. Mm-hmm. Even for me, sometimes I may be like, hey, y'all, up in the face. And then for a couple of days, I'll just go ghost. And the silence for me is not that I'm not posting. It's more so of today was not my best day. So do I share? Then I feel very, very sad when people think that I'm always in a good mood or I'm always vibrant and go lucky. Oh, Renika, she never gets sick. Crohn says she's always happy, but I smile through my pain, but I'm transparent. But when I'm not able to do either or, I have to have time for myself, and I have to be unapologetically okay with that because we are persons that have a chronic illness. We do need time to remove that stress. So that's how I deal with that. But I also have had those type of challenges too. I want to be like, hey, I'm so sorry I ain't seen you in a week, yada, yada, yada. But it's like token. I got to be like, well, I was going through this and the third. And if I want to get real graphic, you be like, okay, well, I'm glad you did not post none of that on this social media today.
But I definitely, like raising my hand, I can definitely, third that, that's Renika, that was kind of the reason I posted that video about my birthday, is because I was thinking about, I'd never, ever, ever, ever show that part of me,
Never, Jordan.
And the reality is that's called Tuesday, and so I always feel that way. I just smile, hey, everything's fine, all that kind of stuff. But I think because it's almost like an overcompensation. You don't want to, no one wants to hang out with or I don't want to project sickness, and so so instead of I'm projecting the opposite of that, which is I'm always fine. And because of that, people can think that I'm always fine, but the reality is I'm sick. I'm very, very sick. And so every day. And so, but I think it's just so. I don't know. Maybe it's just that crony life. Kind of that part of your part. Mm-hmm.
That's why I was wondering too. I'm inclined to think that other people that have chronic illnesses do the same thing because I don't want to be seen as the person that's like, oh, Ashleigh's always talking about her sickness. She always feels bad. Mm-hmm. So I do, I overcompensate, and I'm like, having the most fun day. You can be in my office. Right. Hey, put eyelashes on. And that's just a part of me. And I think that's probably a struggle with not just other IBD people, but probably with other chronic illness people. I was actually, it was so funny. I was supposed to be on another podcast a few months ago, and I was having just a really bad string of days. And so I had to contact her and be like, can we bump this back? Because I'm having it's not good. I'm not having a good string of days. And she was like, yeah. So we bumped it back. And then she has another chronic illness. She was having a bad string of days. And she was like, hey, can we bump this again? Because I'm having a really bad go at it. And I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. And both of us were very apologetic. And so, yeah. And if you look at her social media around that time, it's all happy and look how I'm dealing with my chronic illness. And I think the most important thing for me and for my platform was not just showing, and I said, get gutsy, helping people tell their stories of overcoming adversity. But I probably should have said helping people tell their stories of dealing with adversity. Because I don't think you don't overcome it. And that's what I was trying to tell people it's chronic. It's going to be here forever. I don't overcome it. I just learned how to cope with it. I learned how to deal with it every day. And talk about it.
Definitely. And so
that's true. Yeah.
So what are you mentioned that like you're kind of you're, I don't know what the equivalent would be for women, like this Clark Kent, like your day job, type thing. So like but so like what are your you're doing a lot of cool things with that, and so so what are your like long-term goals, plans, if everything goes your way, like what do you hope to see in your in that part of your career?
In my day job, I'm lucky to have a job that understands where I'm coming from with my illness and also understands how hard it is to be the parent of a medically complex child. And not many people have that. So that's a blessing for me. I think long-term, I always joke that I have the background. I've worked in nonprofits for 15 years now. So I have the background that if we were to win the lottery tomorrow, I would most likely start a nonprofit that paid the way of people to go to specialty clinics for their chronic illness. And I would like scholarship people to go to specialty clinics for their chronic illness. But I think, long-term, I love what I do. I love helping people, to be cliche. I love helping people. And my personal passion is helping people learn how to run their nonprofits right. So I'm working right now to develop it's a consulting firm, but not really a consulting firm, to teach schools how to run the foundation that is attached to them correctly, and to run it in a way that actually helps students, that is going to be helpful and legal at the same time. Because it's a joke in the foundation world. When you work for a foundation that's attached to a school, they always joke that you can either run it cleanly or run it efficiently. And yeah, we've been, whoa, the sun just went down in my room. I've been blessed to understand how to do both of those things. And so I actually have a meeting next week, with another school, talking about how to structure their foundation, structure their partnership to be helpful to students and also be clean and operating legal. So that's long-term what I want to do, but hopefully one day you will see me living my best life, retired as a lady who lunches, and I want to wear big sun hats, and I want to, have like 2 or 3 hour lunches. That's
you heard the dream, folks. It'll help Ashleigh make it happen.
Look, having lunch outside with a cocktail, probably, or cocktail or mocktail, either one of these.
Yeah, Renika and I are going to be ladies who lunch later in life.
Ready?
I gotta have a hat though. You have to have a hat. That completes the dream.
Okay, I got you.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, awesome. Cool beans. I guess we're gonna wrap things up. I appreciate your time, Ashleigh. Speaking of talking about your nonprofits and everything. Well, of course, Crohn's veteran. We would love to reach out to you and hopefully collaborate and and try to, grow and all that kind of stuff, be of service to each other, all that kind of good stuff. And so, but how can people reach, get in touch with you, the things that you're working on to, to support you?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's the Ashleigh Gibson. That is my biggest social media presence. I don't do Twitter. My husband does. It's confusing for me. I just try to keep it Instagram. If you want to follow my pageant queens that I'm in charge of, it's Oklahoma International Pageants on Instagram. And yeah, just follow me on there. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm not insanely popular celebrity, so I answer all the messages in time if I'm not going down. Yeah, I love to hear from people. If anybody wants to talk to me about any chronic illness, not just Crohn's or IBD, if they want to talk to me about pageantry, about modeling, I do pageant coaching on the side for young women. I mainly specialize in young ladies and women that wouldn't otherwise be a pageant girl. So,
Awesome.
You can actually, you have any connects to any plus size people that want some plus size models? Just like your girl, Crohn Sex is always here. Put a plug out there so you know.
I actually might have, so I might have to message you later. I might have an idea.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. I love it. That's and of course, guys, if if you want to support, the Crohn's Veteran Show, you can check us out at crohnsveteran.com. If you like what you heard, if you like, the conversation we had today with, the amazing Ashleigh Gibson and Renika Wood, please subscribe on our YouTube channel and check us out on all podcast platforms. Actually the website's back up. It was broken, so now it's back up, and so you can check out our amazing merch store on there, and the new one's coming soon. It's a great year full of fun stuff. There's a Kochi, the color of Crohn's and chronic illness symposium coming up later on this year. So I encourage folks to reach out to Melody Blackwell and support that. But yeah, so thanks guys, thanks Ashleigh. Wish you well in all your endeavors. Wish you continued success. And wishing your daughter a full recovery from that dental.
Definitely. Thank you, Ash. Nice to meet you, Ash. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
It's good.